Run Slinger.
Brandon is a Super Bowl champion in his first year as a full-time starter. He's also a league MVP. The run-slinging prodigy has lived up to his name and then some. Can he lead Dallas to back-to-back titles for just the 10th time in NFL history? Dallas starts the season with a loss. Brandon goes for 98 yards on the ground, 133 yards through the air, and 3 total touchdowns.
Brandon went off for 271 yards through the air, 142 on the ground, and 3 total touchdowns. Brandon goes off for 256 yards through the air, 85 through the ground, and 6 total touchdowns. Brandon throws for a career-high 384 yards to lead the Cowboys past the Patriots 41-29.
To even be whispered as a future Hall of Famer puts a player in elite company. For those very few, the challenge becomes taking their performance from great to historic.
Thanks for having me over, kid. You've shown some real promise lately. But tell me, are you ready to invest every drop of sweat and sacrifice to cement a legacy that'll outlast your playing days?
I've thought a lot about what it means to build a true legacy. It's not just about trophies, it's about pushing myself to the edge, day in and day out.
That's what I like to hear. Where do you think you need the most improvement to ensure you can thrive when the pressure really hits?
My footwork still needs polish. Every half second counts in this game. Having the extra edge can turn a near miss into a big play at any moment.
Excellent approach. But tell me, how do you plan to handle setbacks like a tough playoff loss? How do you stay on the right track even at the lowest of moments?
I believe in having a short memory. I acknowledge a loss and move on. You can't dwell on mistakes, or they'll cost you in the next game.
I like your dedication, kid. Now it's time to turn those words into action. Keep that hungry burning, and remember, champions are made long before they ever hold a trophy.
Uncharacteristically, Brandon throws 3 terrible interceptions and Dallas falls to the 1-6 Falcons 36-31. Brandon has one of his most ineffective games ever as a football player, throwing for 94 yards and rushing for 47. The Cowboys lose to the Commanders 28-7. Dallas ends the regular season with a 13-10 win over their division rival New York Giants. Brandon throws for 118 yards and rushes for a career-high 145. Dallas finishes the regular season 13-4, second in the NFC East and fifth overall in the NFC. In the wild card round, Dallas travels to Detroit to take on the Lions. In the divisional round, the Cowboys will be traveling to Atlanta to take on the 3-seeded Falcons. Brandon throws for 211 yards, rushes for 103, and rallies the Cowboys from 17-0 down and 26-14 down to beat the Falcons 30-29 to advance to NFC Championship. In the NFC Championship, the Cowboys will travel to Philadelphia to take on the division rival Eagles. On the AFC side, the number 6-seeded Browns will be traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Dallas falls on the NFC Championship 26-21, and the Cowboys will not be going back-to-back. The Eagles will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. In the AFC Championship, the 6-seeded Browns upset the 2-seeded Bills, making it an Eagles vs. Browns Super Bowl. The Eagles win the Super Bowl 23-20. Cooper DeJean wins the Super Bowl MVP. Brandon won his second league MVP, finishing the year with 4,034 yards passing, 48 touchdowns, and just 13 interceptions. He completed 69% of his passes and averaged 237.3 yards per game. He also added 1,142 yards on the ground and 9 rushing touchdowns. Brandon had a goal to bring the Cowboys to back-to-back Super Bowl titles. He failed at that goal, but entering his 4th year, he is a 2-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, and a Super Bowl MVP. It's going to take more than a couple of good seasons for Brandon to become the greatest. What will the Run Slinger do in year 4?
This is Run Slinger.